Isambayan conveners released the names of VP Leni Robredo, Senator Grace Poe, Congressman Brother Eddie Villanueva, former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, Attorney Chel Jokno, and Congresswoman Vilma Santos Recto.
Opposition movement Isambayan has unveiled its nominees for the presidential and vice presidential posts in next year's elections. But it's not exactly a strong start, at least according to two political experts.
I would consider the names that they have put forward as stale, like panias. And I'm sorry to use that cruel word. I'm thinking, grappling with the word to use, but it's like pagkatingin ko ng pangalan, parang gusto kong humikab.
Right now, Isambayan, as it is in its current form and its current offering, doesn't look like they can do that. No? Doesn't look like they can deliver that.
The Isambayan coalition is left with a few names, including Vice President Leni Robredo among the presidential and vice presidential nominees after the party launched its lineup over the weekend. But with some of those names already declining nomination, how can Isambayan declare a final slate? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this special edition of The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay, and with me online are Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star, Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and Ed Lingao of One News. Happy Monday, Chiefs!
Happy Monday.
Hello, everyone.
Ami, nagkagulo na naman sa Maynila kanina sa bakuna.
Oo nga. Kasi maraming...
Tigas naman ang ulo. Bakit pinapayagan yun? Diba, ang klaro na nung guideline, dapat wala nang walk-in. Tsaka nagiging super spreader event.
Yun na nga, nagsisiksikan. Diyos ko,
Pero si Mary mismo kasi nag-imbita na kahit sino pumunta sa Manila lang magdala ng ID.
Saka, basta nagtatrabaho sa Nikki.
He's digging in his heels
Ah.
Parang siya na lang talaga yung nag-walk-in ngayon.
Di ba, I keep trying to clarify this. Di ba tama? Di ba, when we try to clarify it, it is policy, di ba? Bawal na, supposedly, ang walk-in.
Yes, exactly.
And in fact, may warning ngayon ng DOH na there's always the possibility of another surge in Irialar.
Hindi, tsaka tumaas na naman ang 8,000 ng Saturday. Diba? Tapos 7,000 yesterday and another one today. So, hindi it's not letting up.
Tsaka, how supremely ironic or tragic would it be na yung vaccination yung super spreader mo?
Exactly.
May kilala ka ako actually, hindi ba may mga report na may mga nahahawa sa vaccination center?
Oo, di ba? Ay, nako.
And getting serious. In fact, may kilala ko na namatay after getting infected sa
Hindi, tsaka diba, parang feeling ko, alam naman natin na meron na ngang fear of side effects. Dadagdagan mo pa ng fear of transmission or infection.
Yun na nga.
Parang hindi nakaka-encourage, diba? It's counterproductive.
Kanina may kilala ko, gumising ng 5 a.m. sa Manila din yun,
Yes.
At putila siya, at hanggang 6:30, pagdating na 6:30, naka-cut off na siya.
Sa report nga kanina ni Greg sa News 5 para daw nananalo sa loto pagka nakahabol sa pila, talaga nagsisigaw. I mean, ano ba ito?
Oo nga.
Di ba?
In the meantime, Ed, ano pang ibang binabantay mong balita, Bok?
Well, yung binanta natin lahat ng weekend, yung Sambayan,
Oo nga.
it was, I think, marvelously underwhelming.
Oo.
I mean, I think that's a consensus.
It started out underwhelming and then it unraveled within a couple of hours. Di ba?
Yeah.
Oo. Imagine with two categorically saying hindi ako tatakbo, and then two others na parang no thank you. I mean, I'm honored but parang gano'n,
Pero may konting
not to forget
excitement ngayon. May konting excitement ngayon kasi mukhang nag-aaway si Sara Duterte,
Sara and
Vice
Lenny.
President, di ba?
Ah.
Mga ganyang one-on-one nila. And it's over COVID.
Ah.
Di ba?
Yeah.
COVID response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You were
so
saying- You were saying, Bok?
Well, the other thing is yung hacking ng Sambayan
Website.
consultation app. Is that what you call it? Di ba they launched an app
Yung
for their
voting.
consultations where you get to vote online.
Yeah.
It's not on Facebook kasi. I think you have to download the app for you to be able to register and so on down the line. I tried downloading it kanina. I was having difficulty getting in. I think that's part of the problem right now that they are facing with the supposed hacking.
Oh, I mean, everything since the official launch has really not given the public any sense of confidence on the sophistication and of how organized Isambayan is going to be. Kasi remember, in the past few weeks, every time we talk to Isambayan, one of the basic questions was, nakausap nyo na ba lahat yan? Pumayag na ba lahat yan sa proseso nyo? And they said, kung sino man i-declare namin, nakausap na namin yon at pumayag na. Now we don't know what to believe.
But I think what they were trying to tell us was lahat ng nakausap nila pumayag na respetuhin na magiging resulta. Hindi ibig sabihin hindi ata ibig sabihin na tatakbo sila.
Yes.
Respetuhin.
No, but at the very least, again, we're all talking about optics. At the very least, you should have been able to anticipate. How do you explain that? Di ba? Or as people say, how do you tweet that in 100 characters so that people understand what's going on?
Kasalanan mo yung actually eh. Alam ba?
Bakit?
Kasi ikaw ang opening salvo mo nung nag-guest sa atin, si Justice Carpio was, bakit ganun ang pangalan? Hindi ko alam kung paano basahin.
Kahit si Bok, hanggang ngayon napapatid sa kung Sambayan, Isambayan. Sambayanan.
One Sambayan,
One Sambayan, di ba? Legit naman yung tanong eh. I think it's constructive, it's helpful.
And the other legit question is, remember, one of their primary candidates is still on the fence. I mean, yung, di ba, I'm talking about VP Robredo, of course. Di ba? Until now, last thing we heard was September pa yung kanilang decision date.
Eh, wala
which
pa
also
naman.
leaves Sambayan hanging.
Kahit naman sa administration, gano'n eh. Talagang ganyan sila eh. Although sabi nga sa atin ni Senator Trillanes, di ba, dapat ngayon pa lang, bubulungan na. Para maghahanda na yung mga support
Yes. Oo, at saka yung mga funders.
Teka muna.
Kailangan nila malaman
Speaking
kung
of
saan sila mamumuhunan.
Speaking of paghahanda at saka funders, we need to take a break now for some word from our sponsors. At saka ayusin lang natin yung guest natin. We'll need to take a short break.
Gulat ako may sponsors tayo eh.
We'll come back with Professor Tony Lavinia, former Dean of the Ateneo School of Government, to talk about Isambayan. Please stay with us. Welcome back, Chiefs, here on One News. As promised, we start tonight with Professor Tony Lavinia, former Dean of the Ateneo School of Government. Good evening, Dean Tony.
Good evening,
everyone.
Din.
Dean, habang inaantay namin kayo, nagkukwentuhan na kami about yung launch ng Isambayan nung Sabado. Of course, we have our thoughts. I don't want to taint your assessment of it. So let me ask you, what's the good, what's the bad from what happened on Saturday?
The good is there's a process that was unveiled and launched. There are good parts of the process. Sa akin, the good part of the process is the discussions that are ongoing on the substantive issues that the country is facing, so that, in fact, eventually when the candidates are also chosen, you also have ideas for a platform. And therefore, sa akin, the value of Sambayan is actually getting groups, organizations, and people together on certain issues. No? So that was clear, and I welcome that. The negative part, if you want to say the negative part, is and it's the central part of this, of course, the way it was framed was the nomination process seems to have a lot of kinks, di ba? Parang there's so much to fix yet in the nomination process, so much tentativeness. Part of it is the timing. The timing is probably not right for choosing candidates. The candidates themselves, as we know, di ba? I mean, what we found out later was that out of the 6, at least certainly 3 were very clear na as of now, at least they're not thinking of running for any of those positions in 2022. I wasn't sure really about Brother Eddie, but Senator Joel is very clear about it. But Brother Eddie did speak, so parang isama ko na muna siya doon. Senator Trillanes is very clear. But even DP Lenny, while respectful the process, was also very clear na hindi pa siya ready to make that decision. I mean, so clearly making sa process. Pero may analysis ako dyan, and I can share that with you if you want. But my analysis is maybe the premise in March, when Sambayan was launched, is no longer a valid premise. And therefore, they have to di ba, these days kasi have to be flexible, they have to re-strategize and reposition.
What do you mean? I mean, could you rephrase that for us? What was the premise in March?
What premise?
The premise is that there should only be one tandem on the opposition side, di ba? That this will just be a let's say a Sara Duterte, Bongo, or DP, President Duterte, whatever that combination will be, versus or Marcos Duterte, whatever it is, versus on the other side, just one set of candidates. It's very clear, Robbie, and everyone here, na hindi yan mangyayari. We will have at least 5, maybe 10 tandems even in these elections, di ba?
10 tandems?
Maybe.
Wow.
If there are 2 or 3 tandems possible from the Duterte camp or identified as the Duterte camp, there's 3 or 4 tandems possible in the
Yes, but for the opposition at least, for Isambayan. I mean, otherwise, what happens to the one? I mean, isn't that what they were standing for? Yeah.
That's my point, Luchi, because the premise nga before was you only need to have but that is because if it's one-on-one. But if it's going to be 5 tandems, 10 you don't need to have only one. It's actually better to have 2 or 3 that are non-Duterte, so we actually have a choice. One, for those of us who are either anti-Duterte or at least anti the things that this group stands for. I'm not anti-Duterte, but I'm anti things that has been done and anti things that they are saying they will continue to do. Diba? Mas ganun yung perspective ko. I would like to have, going into election day, mga 1 month before, 3 viable choices at that point, di ba? Now, kung one-on-one, talagang isa lang talaga, di ba? Kung isa lang, but you have Duterte, you have Pacquiao, you have Marcos. That's probably 3 teams right there. already.
Professor, you said,
Cayetano pa. So,
Professor, you said the premise of Isambayan changed from March. What changed it? What factors came in?
well, I think it's because it's that we have a lot more people that are willing to run than we thought were willing to run. I mean, like just a few days before Sambayan, di ba, si Lacson and Soto
Yes.
said that they will run, di ba? And I will not venture to guess what Mayor Isko Moreno's thinking is right now, no? But I think if he wants to run, he would rather have the freedom to do it by himself and not be part of a process, di ba? And that's smart, actually. If you really want to run, you should not be in a process. Period.
Okay, so you're saying that it looks like there will be several choices, no? So what will be the goal now of Isambayan in the face of a premise that assumes that there will be more than one and probably even 10? So what will be the position of Isambayan?
Their role now will change from a primary type where you choose to a process that identifies who are your most winnable at a particular time, which is probably March and April, rather than earlier. Mas ganun na yung role nila ngayon.
So parang guidelines lang for selection?
No, not necessarily. Pwedeng at the end of it, if somebody is able to keep together, I'll be direct. And these are all speculation because we don't really know who are the final names, di ba?
Yeah.
So for example, di ba, if you have, as I said, in the Duterte camp, at least 2 or maybe 3, di ba? I can see Marcos running actually on his own. I can see, especially if Duterte also runs as VP, then that closes off Marcos, di ba? Then I think Pacquiao will run no matter what, and it's a win for Pacquiao. He doesn't really care about his money. We know that. So he will use that money, and he will do that. It's a good time for him. I will actually encourage him. He will learn a lot, and if he learns properly, even if he loses, he can run again in 6 years, with a much better campaign. So that's already 3, di ba? From that side. And then if you have Lacson and Soto that's running, that's gonna get votes from different sides. And I don't know about VP Lenny. I really respect VP Lenny's process. I mean, so I don't even want to speculate whatever she will do. I will just respect her and wait for a decision, not even rush her, di ba? But if it's not VP Lenny, or for the group, maybe Senator Trillanes said that he will run, di ba? And so that's already one clear from the at least the non-Duterte decision. And then you have maybe Isko Moreno will run on that. I mean, I don't know. I believe Grace Poe will not run for president. That's the body language that I see. But maybe she will run for vice president. That's not very sure. If she teams up with Isko Moreno, that's a powerful Luzon.
Yes,
block,
right.
Diba?
Right.
And for me, the only chance you have with a Mindanao candidate, although Pacquiao complicates that because Pacquiao could also get a lot of votes in Mindanao, but your only chance is if you have a strong Luzon group of candidates that can contest that and get votes. So right now, it seems, at least in the last Pulse Asia survey, I saw that Isko Moreno is the one that's getting the plurality of votes in the populous areas of Luzon, right? So if you have them there, then Sambayan by February or March can also make that decision.
But Professor Lavinia, February and March is so far away. Never mind the candidates. We don't even know where Isambayan is going to be, what stature they will have. I mean, prior to Saturday, one of the things going for Isambayan was really that they were not a known entity. People were granting them that they would be a unifying force, that they had the gravitas to provide a unifying platform. But Saturday was clearly a false awkward stumble of the block. And this, I don't think this gave anyone any confidence that this is going to be the unifying force for the opposition or the non-Duterte alliance or whatever you want to call it. So I guess my question is, Saturday's developments or non-developments, what did that do to Isambayan's credibility and potentials as a unifying force? Baka naman pagdating ng February and March, they're not even an entity at all.
Well, they have to re-engineer, obviously, Roby, they have to re-engineer themselves itself in the next couple of months to be actually relevant. No? And that's why I'm saying na if I were them, I would look at that original premise and see that that is no longer a valid premise. That we're not gonna have a one-on-one elections in 2022, and that we will have multiple candidates. And in that case, therefore, it might actually, a convening group might actually be better in, either reflecting, continuing a process that will lead it to that stage where it can endorse a candidate, or just merge into a campaign, di ba? Because that could also be
So hindi na siya hindi na siya rallying point. Kasi that was what everybody thought it would be, no? That it was gonna be a force that would rally behind a common ticket, and to precisely go against the very popular administration. So now you're saying that if there are 6 tickets, the role of Isambayan will just be now to select which among them would be the closest to their ideals. Let's just call it that way.
I'm very practical, Luchi. Which among the non-Duterte has a chance
okay.
to win?
Yes,
So kumbaga,
right.
so kumbaga ang analog
So,
diyan. Kumbaga,
Kasi, di ba, I'm
yeah.
even in my comments there, I was emphasizing that, di ba, yung winnability is very
Yeah.
important.
Right.
Kumbaga,
Di ba, a pathway to winning is very important.
kumbaga din Tony, if you
Pero
look
sir,
back
even
to
among the choices, kasi sir, kasi I was of the impression that Sambayan wanted to delineate the lines between Duterte and anti-Duterte camps. Now clearly it's not going that way. So are we looking at a grayer spectrum? Ibig sabihin na you're probably looking at candidates who support some policies but oppose other policies which the opposition might find acceptable. Kumbaga compromises na to.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you have, I suspect there'll be 3 or 4 on the side, on that spectrum, di ba? And the question is who will have in February or March, who is in a position to have a chance against the other side naman. Kasi
So,
the
Professor,
other
you're
side will
saying-
depend on, I was saying the strength of the other side will also depend on how the campaign, di ba, how they campaign. Because this is not, none of this is a done deal. Because it's not Duterte that's going to be running, di ba? It's other people that's going to be running. So none of that, it's the campaign matters. How Sara will campaign matters, or if it's Bongo, how he campaigns will matter. If it's Pacquiao, of course, all of that will matter. And so we have to look at it at that point. I mean,
Pero Professor, nandun yung endorsement ni President Duterte pa rin, ano? And so you're saying na the opposition candidate doesn't necessarily have to be intrinsically anti-Duterte. Kasi yun ang sinasabi sa amin ni Senator Trillanes na it has to be an anti-Duterte person. But in your case, you're saying, hindi, not necessarily.
For me, no. Kasi all I want is a change, not in personalities, not in what a change in ideas, in the way we do things, diba? So for me, that is not my main because Duterte will be, especially if he doesn't run for VP, then that's di ba, he's no longer an issue after 2022. We can move on after 22 in terms of personalities, but we might not be able to move on in terms of the way we do things, di ba? Kasi kung ganun pa rin yung pamamalakad sa akin, for example, human rights was Philippine Sea and all of this, then we won't be able to
So what will be the role now of Isambayan ahead of February and March? No? Ano nang gagawin ng Isambayan ngayon kung antay nila na mag-firm up yung mga tickets? I mean, what will be its role?
Well, one thing that they have done very well, from what I've seen, is the discussion of problems and the solutions. I've been part on many of them. Maganda talaga siya. I mean, hindi mo siya maki-question, di ba? Ang gagawin nila ngayon, importante na to make sure na yung ideas na yon ay mag-flow towards the candidates that are still going to be parang part of their spectrum, which they said is not a closed spectrum. Very clear yun, hindi pa tapos sa spectrum. So what I can see is this, no? I mean, that in October we know now kung sino yung mga tandems, di ba? We know that sino yung mga tandems. Maybe that's actually the time when they can continue the process of engagement, of interviews with the tandems.
Yeah.
Endorsement value
And,
na lang
and
sila.
then you're saying that by around February, March, they could be a galvanizing force. In the same way that, I don't know what you want to call them, but if you look back to 2016, literally in the final month before the elections, the groups behind Mar Rojas and Grace Poe were really panicking. And there was a last-minute ditch to try to forge a tandem between the two of them, but there was no galvanizing force. You're saying that in a similar scenario, that's a role that Isambayan might be able to play.
Yes, and that it would be smart for them to do that kasi what I realize, and it's not their fault kasi it's first of all, I just want to say that these are very brave people, courageous people that are trying to do something almost impossible in the Philippine context, di ba? But what has become clear after what happened last Saturday was that the candidates, including their favored candidates, di ba, have their own ideas on how to proceed, di ba? I mean, even Sunny Trillanes is actually saying, pag hindi si Lenny, tatakbo ako at walang iba. Di ba? That's really what Sunny is saying. And I have a lot of respect for Sunny. At least Senator Sunny is very, very clear about that. Di ba? And some of his supporters are very clear about that.
Yeah, Dean Tony, what about on the other side? Let's say come February, March, and on the administration side, and those associated with President Duterte and so on, do you see President Duterte, for instance, being a galvanizing force when it comes to February and March and walang clear front runner?
Yes and no, because, for example, I think Pacquiao will go ahead anyway, because Pacquiao doesn't really have a personal loyalty to the president. I mean, and has a fight in October, and that's probably more important for him. He wins that fight in terms of decision on whether to run or not. I think Bongbong Marcos would probably run if he cannot. I think he would probably be okay with running for VP for Sara if he's asked to. But other than that, he'll probably run as well. So that's still. I don't think that Marcos Duterte would be able to do that. I mean, the galvanizing force of Duterte is that the government machinery will be used. I mean, extensively, including government resources. I mean, but as we saw in 2016, that doesn't really get you the presidency also by itself. I mean, because it really depends on, as I said, I mean, the nice thing about us is you can actually have no money, have no machinery, but you have a good idea or a couple of good ideas, and you're able to show the people that that you are able to do this, then you can win.
Yeah.
I would say si VP Lenny did that in 2016, di ba? Although he had assistance of the administration. Let's be clear about that. But still, di ba, from zero recognition or 1% recognition to that was a feat. And that's because she had an idea and she had a personality that you could sell to people. But I don't know if she can do that now because of the way she has been already by the trolls have been defined, di ba? Whether she can be redefined or not is I cannot say that. Communications people have to deal with that, di ba?
Yeah.
But someone like Isambayan Moreno can define himself easily.
But if the choices are no longer in black and white or clearly pro-Duterte or anti-Duterte, as was earlier envisioned, in the end it becomes a question of what compromises are acceptable to the opposition in terms of candidates. In other words, for example, of the candidates that you mentioned a while ago, the potential candidates you mentioned a while ago, sino sa kanila lamang yung tingin yung magiging acceptable sa opposition? Of course, Robredo's one of them. Maliban dun, sino pa ho?
I don't know kasi what you mean by opposition, di ba? I don't know what you mean.
Actually, that's the other question.
How in the Liberal Party, the yellow, di ba? They have a lot of soul searching to really look at because they have to reflect on what happened with Ocho Derecho, di ba? For me, that's really if that's what you mean by opposition. If you mean the voters.
If you want to call it the anti-Duterte coalition,
Anti-administration, yeah.
Iba-iba din yun, di ba? Iba din yun. For example, the left, for example, Makabayan, etc., they probably would be more flexible in terms of because what they would care about would be the issues, the platform, and what would they care about is that the Duterte kind of governments doesn't continue, di ba? Sa akin kasi hindi importante sa akin yung to be honest, hindi importante sa akin yung specific personalities or even the record of specific personalities. Hindi ganun importante sa akin na I am convinced that this candidate will win and this candidate will usher in a new era for the Philippines.
Okay, Dean, are you
Not a perfect
Dean,
era.
are
but
you speaking for
era.
Isambayan? Are you speaking for Isambayan?
No, I'm not.
Or this is your opinion?
I'm not.
On what? Okay.
I'm not a convener. I'm not a member. I was a
advisor,
reactor.
right?
But
reactor. Yeah.
And I support it. I support the process. But like everyone else, you support the process. You also want them to learn. Everyone to learn from the process, di ba? Because it's very early in the game, so I don't think this is the end of Sambayan. They can reflect and learn from what happened last Saturday and come back. But I would encourage them to think about the premise, as I said, because yan ang key. Kung ang key mo is you want to unify the opposition and only have one candidate, parang dead in the water siya. Di ba? Parang dead in the water siya. Kasi you're sure na of at least two, di ba? Nandiyan na si Lacson. I wouldn't consider Lacson pro-Duterte at all. That would not be fair to say that Lacson is any objective. Ano po?
Isambayan doesn't want Lacson.
Yeah.
Sinabi na ni
that's on the issue of di ba? That's on the issue of the anti-terror law.
Human rights.
Human rights.
Anti-terror.
That's okay, but I wouldn't consider. My point is, I wouldn't consider Lacson as a pro-Duterte a pro-Duterte candidate, no? Certainly wouldn't consider sino yung mga nag-refuse, di ba? I mean, any of those that refuse, I wouldn't consider them pro-Duterte necessarily. I mean, they might be. I saw one criticism that Eddie Villanueva is aligned with the majority in Congress, but I'm sorry, but I even during Pinoy's time, I didn't consider that as a major factor who you were aligned with, because in Congress they're always aligned with the majority. Parang
Yeah.
ano,
Sabi ni Ambassador Del Rosario, they will update the list. So my question is, do you think that there's any updating of the list that's possible, or are they already scraping the barrel at this point? I mean, if you bring in the winnability factor, as you say, no?
well, Luchi, they can update the list all the way down to the at least October or even January when the campaign is in full swing. The truth is that if you're running, of course, the Duterte camp will not ask for your endorsement. But if you're running, at that point, you actually want the endorsement of everyone, di ba? Of anyone that will endorse you. So I don't see that that would be a problem. If, for example, let's say at that point, there'll be other people in the list, di ba? That suddenly runs, no? I don't think there's anything that will stop Sambayan to say, we'd like to consider you. And if I were a candidate that's not a Duterte camp candidate, I would want that, because that would still get me some votes, right? So I think that's how it would be. But as I said, it's not. Again, I just repeat that idea that it's no longer a situation where this process can lead to just one candidate. And the earlier we accept that, the earlier that isang sambayan accepts that, the better it can strategize for its own role.
Okay. Dean, I want to apply that question again. Katulad nung kanina, apply natin doon sa administration side, particularly PDP laban. So if we now talk about PDP laban, Manny Pacquiao in particular, how should Manny Pacquiao be appreciating, calculating, or for that matter, ignoring PDP laban?
Well, right now they're all plotting, di ba? There's a plot to oust him and a counter plot to resist that. I mean, we'll see what happens. But political parties are irrelevant in the Philippines. I mean, unfortunately, it's convenient when you have a political party because you have poll watchers. But poll watchers are actually irrelevant. Duterte didn't have poll watchers in the last election, even if it's PDP Laban, but there were no warm bodies in PDP Laban's poll watching in the last time, di ba? Because of automated voting, you don't need poll watchers anymore, di ba? It really, I mean, obviously he would like to stay there and be the standard bearer, but if he's kicked out, he will have a grand time, saying how he has been oppressed, and now he will create his own party and run his own campaign, no? I don't know how he will do, to be honest. Matira ang matibay yung ganyang klaseng kampanya, di ba? I mean, who would have thought that Duterte would have done so good, di ba? That his campaign would not have fizzled out. Many thought his campaign would fizzle. That's why nobody was attacking Duterte until April, di ba? Because they thought that campaign would fizzle out. So I don't know about that. I mean, but as I said, for Pacquiao, he should run. He should run because it's win-win for Pacquiao. He doesn't lose anything by running, even if he loses in the actual election, because he can get that experience and then run again in 6 years much better if he learn, di ba? So I think he will do that. And PDP Laban is a convenience, but not a necessary thing for someone like Senator Pacquiao.
Okay. Dean, Professor Tony Lavinia, maraming salamat po.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Ingat po.
Stay with us, the Chiefs. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The Chiefs now with us is Philippine College of Physicians President Dr. Maricar Limpin. Good evening, Dr. Limpin.
Good evening, Doc.
Evening, Doc.
Hi, Dr. Limpin, always a pleasure to have you here kasi every time may kausap kaming mga doktor, you give us an idea of how, all of these policy debates, all of this hand-wringing, all of the things we see on TV, but how is it all being felt on the ground? In particular, kamusta po sa front lines natin ngayon?
Well, tama naman yung mga nakikita natin na data na lumalabas, ano? So talagang medyo nararamdaman na namin na bumababa na ang kaso ng COVID-19 dito sa NCR at least, no? Pero doon sa probinsya, it is on the rise, no? There is a surge in the Visayas and in Mindanao, and in fact, humihingi na ng tulong yung mga kasamahan namin doon dahil sa medyo may kakulangan sila sa mga equipments, no? And punong-puno din yung kanilang mga ICU. But here in NCR, no, ang medyo nakita namin, and that is also a cause for alarm, ay yung medyo dumami yung mga pasyente na ICU. Sa ICU, ha? So,
Puno ulit, ano?
medyo puno ho yung mga ICU namin. Sinasabi ng Department of Health, malaki pa daw ang kakulangan sa capacity. Pero kami yung nakakaramdam na marami talaga ang mas critical and severe COVID-19 cases. And alam naman natin na kapag severe and critical nasa ICU, that means that yung mga pasyente have to stay for a long period of time, no? So minimum of 3 weeks yan na nasa ICU. Yung iba tumatagal pa more than 3 weeks.
Do you attribute this to the loosened restrictions? I mean, no matter how tiny, no, nag-loosen up na Do you attribute that to the rise in number, to the loosened restrictions?
Yes, oo, no. I think ang feeling, well, on a personal note, I'm thinking na marami sa mga tao ngayon asymptomatic and is transmitting the infection nang hindi nila alam. And so marami sa atin ang exposed, no, and medyo maaaring ang viral load ng exposures nila ay medyo malaki. And that is why we are seeing many cases of severe to critical COVID. And then also, Luchi, no, let us remember na may mga travelers din tayo na pumapasok na ngayon na variants, and these variants, no, hindi lang sila increased transmissibility, no, ang dala-dala ng variants na yan, but particularly yung UK variant, no, and the South African variant, they are also known to cause more severe cases of COVID-19. So kaya siguro maaring medyo nakakakita nga kami ng mas madami-daming kaso ng ICU.
So, Doctor, do you think we should further reopen the economy? Kasi we're waiting for an announcement tonight, ano? Although mukhang hindi inclined ang Malacanang na yun na nga, na medyo... Pero ang curfew, the mayors have already agreed to shorten the curfew hours in Metro Manila. Pero ang DOH naman nagsasabi, there's always the possibility of another surge. At ang Okta, sinabi, Dumaguete is the new major area of concern. You think at this point we should further relax restrictions, at least dito lang sa NCR?
No, actually, mag-a-appeal lang nga sana kami na wag na muna tayong masyadong nagmamadali, no, sa pagre-relax ng mga restrictions natin. Because nakakakita nga kami ng medyo signs, no, ng umpisa na naman ng pag-increase ng mga kaso, lalo na yung mga severe cases. And we expect this to continue, no, yung trend na ito, we expect this to continue. And then, further to the restrictions, no, kailangan siguro talagang i-tighten up natin ang ating border control. Kasi kawawa naman yung mga kababayan natin sa probinsya, no? And buti na lang kung kompleto din sila sa kanilang mga kagamitan. And we know for a fact na diyan sila nagkakaproblema, no? Yung mga equipments. Many of the our colleagues no in Mindanao, particularly in Mindanao, as of 2 weeks ago, humihingi na sila ng tulong because kulang na sila ng mga equipments like yung mga high flow nasal oxygen, no, and some of them even ventilators, no. So we lumapit na kami sa DOH, no, inilapit namin yung problema nila sa DOH so that mabigyan ng solusyon yung mga problema nila.
Doc, let me back up a bit. So are our ICU numbers proportional to our numbers for new cases, or hindi na siya proportional? Kumbaga talagang lumaki yung ICU numbers at lumiit yung new cases.
Just to give you an idea, mga 2 weeks ago siguro we are at around 3 weeks ago we are at around 50% capacity sa ICU. That's how how big reduction yung nangyari nung mga nakaraan na And then about 2 weeks ago umakyat siya ng mga around 70%, and then a week ago that's about 80%, and now hindi lang a week ago, no, but even last week and up to now 100% kami.
100 na.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ang lakas nun, ha?
Yes. Kaya kaya medyo malaki din yung concern namin. I have seen this at least sa heart center. Isipin ko pa ang heart center, marami kaming mga kliyente na mga comorbidities, no? But I asked my friend from San Lazaro, ganun din ang situation nila. I asked my friend in Chinese Gen, not 100% pero nearly 100%. So that means na pare-pareho yung na-experience namin, no? So it's not just one hospital, it's a pretty good number of hospitals.
Yes, Doc. I understand that you explained it a while ago, but I didn't quite get the gist of it. Parang you were saying something like mataas ang viral load dahil asymptomatic po yung maraming patients. Can you elaborate on that? How did that work?
Yeah, it can be na mild yung mga yung ibang pasyente, no? But as we speak, no, kahit wala kang nararamdaman, but pag nagsalita ka, no, you are transmitting the virus. Kung nandoon sa katabi mo, kunyari kapamilya mo, so we know naman pag nasa loob tayo ng bahay, we don't really use mask, right? So habang kausap yan, and then langhap mo na lahat ng mga viruses na yan. So the longer you stay together, the more virus ang nalalanghap mo, and mataas ngayon yung viral load mo.
I mean po, what makes that different from our situation 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago?
No. Because 4 weeks ago, lahat tayo, dahil sa fear din natin, dahil we have been seeing so many of the people, mga friends natin, and then we hear from the news na talagang madami yung COVID-19. So, medyo restricted din tayo. Hindi tayo masyadong lumalabas, no? And then we are wearing the face mask, face shield.
So, medyo na-contain, kumbaga. Na-contain. Yeah. Yes.
Once na i-relax mo ang quarantine measures natin, then it also gives the message to the people, pwede na tayong mag-relax kasi pwede na tayong lumabas, di ba? And then of course, pag marami ang taong lumalabas, mas tendency ay yung mga dapat yung minimum health protocols, no? Hindi natin masusunod yan. Look at the waiting areas, no, for buses. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Friday night.
Grabe traffic.
Medyo.
Traffic is back to pre-pandemic levels.
Doctora, we don't have that much time left, but so I want to go back again to the regions, no? Sa Visayas and Mindanao in particular, the surge in Davao, different cities. Nabanggit nyo nga po, you're a national organization, you're saying your counterparts, your colleagues in the regions have been asking for help. But paint a picture for us. I mean, how is the situation there now relative to where we were nung nagsusurge ulit dito sa Metro Manila, nung talagang nagagahol tayo sa ICU, sa bed space, and so on? Kamusta po in those regions and in any particular cities that is of concern to you?
Yeah, Remember, Robbie, no, in the provinces, in the past, they have not really experienced yung surge na na-experience natin dito sa NCR. And therefore, medyo, I think, kampante yung mga tao doon, no? And then, all of a sudden, biglang nagdatingan itong mga COVID-19 cases. So again, I think ang kanilang ang situation nila is the situation when where we were before, no? That was around March of last year. Last year, no? So parang nabigla din sila. Ngayon nila nararamdaman yon. And then, of course, may mga equipments naman sila, pero hindi na, nauubusan na rin sila. Like I know, like in Jensen, no? Ang daming kaso ng mga COVID-19. And then there's no more high-flow nasal oxygen. No, so paano ang gagawin nila doon sa mga pasyente, no? So the patient will just have to be given yung the usual na oxygen therapy. So may mga kakulangan doon, and because Davao, because there are specialists there, no, who can take yung ipoprovide ninyong care. So we had that algorithm, no, na ibinigay ho namin sa kanila, so that we can help them even in the absence of a specialist.
Pero may capacity ba to assist them, considering na sabi nyo nga tumataas yung cases din ng ICU cases in Metro Manila? Kasi dito sila manghihingi ng tulong, di ba? Outside. Paano na yan? Saan sila kukuha ng tulong?
Hindi, ang tulong ho na naibigay namin sa kanila ay yung algorithm kung ano po ang gagawin nila.
Treatment protocols.
No, yung mga equipment, kasi sabi nyo rin kanina, kung nakukulangan na rin ng mga pang-ICU equipment Saan makukuha yun? May makukuhaan ba dito?
So actually, we got them, no? We talked to the Department of Health, no? Yung Health Professional Alliance, yung HPAC, got in touch with DOH para i-bridge namin sila. Para alam ho ng DOH ano ang gagawin para matulungan ho. Kasi they know kung saan kukuhain, saan huhugutin yung mga equipments na yan para masupply ho natin doon sa mga lugar na nakangailangan ng mga equipment. So, nagawa naman ho yun, and the DOH were able to respond to that.
You were talking about restricting to tightening border controls. You think the government should rethink the resumption? Well, not the resumption. You think the government should rethink the point-to-point tourism?
Yes, I think ang pinaka-importante, no, for anyone coming in, make sure lang na number one that we also look at the RT-PCR nila. Kasi very important yan, ano? And then number two, of course, no, baka may vaccination card yan. And then very important to really verify, no, yung vaccination card. Kasi alam niyo naman ho, yung mga vaccination card na yan, that can also fabricate. So, pwede, kailangan ma-validate. No? And then, I hope na we will be still able to maintain the quarantine. I think it was already agreed, no, na pwede hong ibaba, no, pwedeng ibaba to 7, pero kailangan na meron ho silang vaccination card for that to take into effect.
Okay. Dr. Maricar Limpin, she's the President of the Philippine College of Physicians. Maraming salamat po, Dr. Limpin.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
And that's all for this special edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News.